Hello and welcome to Scalemodeling, and welcome to part 24 of our Yamato Battleship build, 1/200 scale by Monochrome. And in this episode, we're actually up to step 116, which is on the last page of the instructions. It's the second last step on this build, and it is, of course, the catapult. 2 catapults we have to build. I'll just bring over the book, The Anatomy of a Ship, where there are some nice pictures of them here. So there they are there, and what they look like. And hopefully ours will resemble something like that. There's a shot there with a couple of aircraft on them, which I hopefully shall do. But yeah. Nice detail. Now these are, the main catapult themselves are all in plastic, unlike other kits where usually you can get these in photo etch, which look really good. But the plastic looks quite good on this. So I'll bring up the instructions up in the corner here for 116. So there is some photo etch on here, but first things we're going to need will be, looks like J42, which is the actual catapult. And of course we do have to make 2 of them, and both of them will be identical. From what I can see, I don't think there's anything different in them. So the sprues are here, and there's our catapults, one here and one here. And there's also, there should be the base of it too, J14, which will be this piece here, of course. Yep. So I'll take these pieces off, and then we'll come back and have a look at some of those smaller bits and pieces that need to go on. Okay. And if you happen to have just come in and found my channel and jumped on this video, as you can tell, we're up to step 24. We're almost finished. You're welcome to go to the Yamato playlist, where you can watch from the unboxing and review of this kit all the way through details of the aftermarket parts, accessories, and right through the build, and plus anything else you might be interested on my channel. So please subscribe if you're not already. Hit that notifications bell, that's the important one, so you get notified when I release a video. At this stage is once a week. And yeah, good to have you. Welcome to joining if you're new. All right, I'll get back onto this and we'll come back shortly. Okay, so I managed to get the 2 little rollers wheels and their brackets on the end here. So there's a photo etch piece that folds a couple of times. It's quite simple, and the little wheel sits in between it. That probably brings the cable through, I guess. So they're on. Now I noticed that all those parts in the top there of 116, all the little parts, and I mean there's 2 of them there. That's how small they are on the mat. All right. And there's another little couple wheels that have to go on, and a few other bits. There's all up, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that apparently, going by the instructions, sit somewhere along here. All right, but if you look at the anatomy of a ship, none of that exists. So you can't, there's no reference for that at all, unfortunately. And what makes it even more difficult is that every other view that you see of these in that step 116 is of it up the other way. All right, so that's the bottom, but this is the top. And every other view now is from the top down, including in the next step, which you can't see yet, of fitting it. And it doesn't show any of these parts fitted. All you've got to go on is where it's sort of lining them up and telling you they go down onto. That's it. There's no other photographs to get a reference. So it makes it a little bit tricky, especially with such small parts. But I guess you just have to do your best. There's no location points anywhere on the catapult for these 5 parts, which also doesn't make it easier. But anyway, I'll roughly get an idea. I'll count how many sort of grids along and up, and that's where the first one goes, and work my way. And I'll do both sides at the same time, so I don't have too many of these parts off the sprue that could get lost, including photo etch. There is photo etch to go on some of these small parts as well. So I'll keep going. I'll get these pieces done, and we'll come and have a look at it when it's done, and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, back in a sec. Okay, just a quick correction there. Here's where you got to pay attention. I swear the arrows were pointing to the edges of the railings on here to place these, and that's why I said there was nowhere I could see to put them, no location points. But then I realized, hang on, they're pointing inside, and then if you look down in the bottom, there are location points for these pieces all to go in there. So yeah, here I am, because you could barely see it on the instructions, that they were pointing to the flat part on the base of the catapult. It looked like they were pointing onto the sides. I knew it was unusual, but I thought, oh, that's the way they want it, but no, it's not. All right, so don't do that. Yeah, put them in there. There's all the locating points. Makes it much easier. Okay. All right, so I've got those first two little tiny bits of plastic, number 45s, J45s on. Now I'm going to do the L13s. They're also even smaller bits of plastic to go in those other two notches, 2 on each there will be. And then we'll go back and do the little photo etch where there's some wheels to build. Okay, we'll be back in a sec. Okay, I'm back and successfully put all those little pulleys and everything in the right place. If you can see them in there, they are there, and they look okay. So that's both of them done in that part of the step, and now we need to work on this platform that goes inside and has the I guess that's part of the catapult itself that we need to put together. I don't see any photo. Oh yes, there's another bit of photo etch, another one of those wheels that got to go on. So that shouldn't be too hard, and they go in these locations on here. And again, we need 2 of them. All right, so I will go grab, I need, what is it, J61 and J80. They get joined together and we pop them on there. There's a little bit of photo etch goes on the end there, and one in here. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I've put these together, just one on top of the other, no problem. Now I've just gone to fit it onto here, where the instructions have made a mistake. Okay, so they actually, the 2 little pins that are underneath here, see them under there, right, go into the 2 smaller holes. Okay, whereas the instructions up there, I'll move them up there, tell you that one goes in the small hole and then one goes into the last hole, which is the big hole, which is wrong. All right, for a start, they won't line up and won't fit that way. Don't try and force it into the larger hole, because the larger holes are actually for these platforms that go on the catapult that these sit on. Okay, so don't go drilling an extra hole either. That would be the wrong thing to do. All right, so you just put them into those holes, and then like I'm about to do, just a touch under there like that. That'll seep in, no problem. And that's one done. All right, and the same with the other one. We'll go in exactly into the 2 smaller holes. 1, 2. Do this. That's it. And that one there. There we go. All right. Okay. Yeah. So the instructions tell you to put it in the wrong holes. You'll figure it out. Okay. I figured it out. Thank God for that. I didn't go messing things up. All right. I'll just glue this one in, and then we've got to make what do we got? we've got J44 goes down on this end. It's a plastic piece. And then we've got a little photo etch wheel, which will go 2 pieces for it. Or one's the photo etch bracket, and then we've got the plastic wheel, and that'll go into there. All right, so I'll go as far as that, then we'll come back again before we decide about attaching that on there, because I've come across with another problem through of painting, but we'll talk about that. Okay, be back in a sec. Okay, we're back, and I just wanted to show that these are both completed, little wheels on the front there. Now, the next part of the instruction is actually to basically put them together. But I don't want to do that, because how am I going to paint this properly if it's inside of all those girders and brackets around? So what I've decided to do is I'm going to paint these 2 bits separately. I'll paint this up, because all we need to do is put the platform on and it's done. But there is some photo etch. Okay, so if you look at the instructions here and go down to the bottom there, we've got there's photo etch D68, which is actually a walkway platform. It goes on the back here, and there is another piece, I'm not sure what that even is, L39, and it goes up on this end here, just little strips. And I'll put those on, because obviously they go on both sides of each one, and that'll be part of painting that all up. So I'll do that now, and then once it's all painted, then these will be quite easy to simply attach in there, and not a problem at all. And remembering that this is the underside of this, so it'll be good. But definitely want to paint them before I put them together and get that photo etch and the other piece on. All right, so I'll do that, and I shall come back with, I'll show them when they're all undercoated in the black first, and then we can put the IGN grey down. Okay, we're back in a sec. Okay, so there they are, painted up black, primed. These are going to look really fantastic. The shadow detail, particularly with something like these, where there's going to be like all those girders and parts on there, it's going to look really good. So that part, of course, painted, obviously that'll be done with the grey, otherwise I would never have been able to get in there to get that detail of that. And these, not too worried about the centre, that's going to be covered. We got the side bits where the checker plate is, and a little bit underneath, as it might be able to be seen a bit. I'll let these dry, 15 minutes maximum, and I'll go put on the IGN grey, and then we can glue them together. Okay, back shortly. Okay, welcome back. So I've just sprayed these pieces in the IGN grey, and looking quite good, as they always do. It's always good having that black as your base coat. Gives it that nice bit of shadow detail. There's that piece there. We did show that properly. This was the part that I knew I wouldn't be able to get that covered properly if this was all put together. This way it's fine. So yeah, so I'm just going to attach these onto here now, and might as well put them on the platforms here. I may do these in the darker grey. I'll just go check my references, see if that needs to be done, and otherwise these will be done. I'll come back in a second with them all put together. Back in a sec. Hello, welcome back. So I got the Easy Line arrived today. This is the one here. It's the heavy Easy Line. The one I had before was the fine one. I'm just stretching them across the tile here so we can see the difference. Now that's just laying there. I'm not pulling on that at all. You can see how thin that one is. And here's this one here. Much, much darker. As far as I know, I think it's twice the thickness. Yeah, so that's going to look much better, particularly on this size 200 scale Yamato ship. Now there may be cases where I could use the finer one, and we're talking about doing the superstructure. So there might be areas where the dark one might be suitable, and then there might be some finer lines. I really need to get some references and find out how I'm going to go all about that yet. I haven't even looked for anything on that yet, but that's the plan. But there we go. There's our easy line. Not cheap stuff, but there's 100 feet of it, 30 meters. It'll last forever. This thing looks like I haven't even used any, and yet I've used this on about half a dozen ships. So yeah, so that's it. It's from Berkshire Junction, which are in Massachusetts, looks like, MA, a place called Adams. So yeah, if you go www.berkshirejunction.com, that's where you can get it direct, but most hobby shops do sell it if you need to. I got mine from Metro Hobbies here, and literally within 2 days of ordering it, there it is. So yeah, good stuff. I think this will be just fine. I want to thank everybody for all the options that people have given me in comments, from fishing line to embroidery thread to all sorts of different things, and that's great. But I'll go with what I'm familiar with at the moment. We'll see how this works out. And yeah, I just like the way this stuff stretches. Look, if I just hold it there, for example, look at that. It's like 3 times the size of it, you know, so it's really easy to work with. All right, so let's get back onto these cranes. I'll get them put together. Not the cranes, done that. The catapults. Okay, back in a sec. Okay, so there they are. The last 2 parts of the build. Step 116. All there is left now is step 117, placing these on the ship. And there they are. So they're pretty much glued now. I can take them off. And look at that. They come up really nice, eh? Very nice. So what I'm thinking of doing now is, rather than bring the whole ship right down here now, I've got the crane put aside, and I want to get that out and put the rigging on there. We'll use some of the easy line to make it look like there's some cables on there. So we'll do that before we bring the ship down and put these in place, because then if I get the crane done, then it's finished, and we can put all 3 of these as it shows in step 117 there, and it can all go down on the stern of the ship. Okay, so let me grab the crane and our easy line, and make a start on that. Okay, all right, back shortly. Okay, so here we are with the crane, and I've come across a little bit of a conundrum. Is that the word I'm trying to think of? Basically, because I have included this, I've left this swinging. It's almost impossible to put some easy line along there, because it's going to keep moving up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down on the deck, get this to the position I want it in, and then I'll glue that so that it won't move. Then once it's locked in the right position, then I can come along with the easy line and stretch it across there, and it's not going to move, and it'll be much, much better that way. So let me go glue this and lock this to where it's going to fit properly, and then we'll fiddle around and we'll get some of this easy line on. Okay, back in a sec. Okay, welcome back. So here we are with our easy line. I'm just looking at the layout, how this works. So down in here, there's a little pulley down there that looks like it would run inside the girder and up to here, which operates the actual hook that comes up and down. Okay, whereas this roller at the top here, it looks like it goes over these rollers here to operate the actual crane itself going up and down. So what I want to basically get is one piece from that bottom spindle, I guess you'd call it, running up inside of the girder, which is going to be really, really tricky, and then glued anywhere in there. Doesn't matter, it's out of sight anyway. Although if I could get it over the top of that wheel there, that would help. That's going to take a lot of luck, but we'll see how we go. But that will show the cable running in there. And then the top ones shouldn't be too hard, going from, I'll get two of them, two lengths, one going from here to here to here, and then one running back. Maybe in real case there might be more cables, but I don't want to make this thing too difficult for myself. Now, I'm not going to be able to do this on camera. I will get the first cable on, and then we'll come back and have a look before I start on the other two for the raising and lowering of the gantry, I guess that would be. All right, so I shall return. Okay, so I've managed to thread it all the way through the center of the gantry and onto the wheel where I've super glued it. Made sure it's set before I stretched it a little bit. I've got it just going over the wheel at the top here. So I'm just going to drop a little bit of glue here. I'm just going to touch that into place like this. And that's it. That should be it. I'll make sure that sets. So, I mean, I don't know how much of this will be seen, but anyway, there's a cable now going up the center to control the hook that goes up and down to lift the aircraft, or whatever it's lifting. I'm just checking, and yeah, that's just perfect there. So I can cut this off now, like that. Beautiful. Push that down so it sits in the wheel. Oh, there we go. Right, that wasn't too bad. Now I need to run a couple of cables from here to here and onto that wheel, and then I'll run a second one down and onto that wheel. All right, but at the moment, yeah, you probably won't be able to see it, but it is there. One cable running down through the center. All right, I'll be back when I've got those on. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so there we go. I've got a couple of lines running over these wheels at the top, underneath this one, and out to the wheel on the back here, and it's looking pretty good. So yeah, now we're pretty much ready to put this on the ship, which means I've got to bring it down, and also our catapults are ready to go on. So let me make some room and I'll do that. Be back in a second. Okay, welcome back. So here we are at the stern of the Yamato, and I guess the first thing we'll put on is one of these catapults. And now I'm not even sure, yeah, they face this way, don't they? Yeah, that's it. So that's just going to pop in there. I haven't tried this before, so I've got to be careful. There's a little bit, there's a railing there. Let me just make sure that's going on right. I'm gonna, yeah. Don't want it to come in contact. That's pretty much it, I think. It's just the way it runs straight down there. Going by the instructions, that looks all right. Let me try the other side. And put that in there. That just clears the railing perfectly there. Now I know I could push these down and lock them in a bit firmer, but I'll leave that for the moment. There, that looks pretty good. How straight are they? View from above. Probably want to turn that a bit more that way. Bring this in a little bit more that way. That looks alright, eh? Brilliant. Okay. Now for the crane. And we've still got the trolley down in there for one of the float planes, but we'll leave that there for the moment. Just want to pop that in, and there you go. That's how that's going to sit. Tell you what, that looks really good. Probably a bit better from my angle than yours. I will take a photo, or should I move the camera around? I'll get a photo. Looks quite good. I'll take a photo from this side and we'll put it up in the corner. And then we'll discuss what I have to do next. Okay, let me just grab that back in a sec. All right, so I'll just pop the picture up in the corner here, somewhere up here. If we can move this out of the way a little bit. There you go. And there they are. They're on. And that is step 117 done. That's it. There's no more. The ship is finished. Well, finished as far as the instructions are concerned. We still need to put a few things on here. To start with, we've got aircraft to go on here and a lot of boats, a lot of ships' boats to go on somewhere. And I haven't even done the supports for the boats yet. In the last video, I showed you how I had them all in their containers ready to go, which are pretty much like in here like this sort of thing. What I need to do now is go through the anatomy of a ship. I'm sure that that shows me where I can put some of these boats on the deck, possibly on the side here. I'm not too sure. It's difficult because as far as I'm aware, and I don't know if this is right, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, when this ship went out on its final destination, they didn't put any boats. They took all the boats off because it was pretty much going to be a one-way trip. And even if they did, we did have boats here. They'd all be inside in the hull and in the hangars because these guns are so powerful. You can just see this gun here. I'll just slide this a bit more up this way a little bit. See? Now that gun, anything on the deck when these guns are firing will just get blown to pieces by the shockwave. So you really couldn't have them on deck. There was an option I've seen some people do, was to put them, hang them down where the hangars are on the side of the ship. So I know it's hard to tell, but from this angle, but from in here, this is where they keep the boats, and they bring them out by an overhead hoist that brings them across and lowers them down. And if there was a way, which I really can't see how, to put something there, that would be a good thing. Or maybe something at the entrance. I don't know. I'm going to figure this out and have a look at the options. I don't remember if some of the parts for the boats, not the boats now, I'm thinking about the aircraft. I'll go and have a look at the anatomy of a ship, and we'll come back. That's the best way, and have a look at that. The other option too is with the aircraft. I definitely want to mount one up on at least one catapult. So we'll see about that, and one on one of the trolleys on the rails here would look good too. Again, there's 4 aircraft. There's too many to fit on here anyway, so we'll have to work that out as well. I'm just noticing now when I look at the aircraft, because it was so long ago I built these two, for example, they have trolleys underneath. They're already mounted on the trolleys. So they could sit on a rail, on a line here, no problem at all. The bigger trolley that I've got down in that hangar bay can come up here on the catapult, and we might be able to mount one of the aircraft. If I look at the bigger aircraft here, there they are in the box. They're not on a trolley, I don't think. No, I don't think they are. In which case, it could probably sit on there and be mounted on one of these to take off. It's all, I know it's not going to be anywhere near historically accurate, but for the model and for the showing of it and the detail, I want to show these things. I want to show whatever I can. But putting these lifeboats and the captain's boat and stuff on racks mounted on the deck, that's just not right. I don't think that's right. Like I said, I'll go refer back to the anatomy of the ship and we'll come back and we'll look at that. Also with this, we got rigging to do, okay? We haven't touched any of the rigging on the superstructure yet. So that's a major amount of work to be done. And of course, after all of that, this whole thing needs to be weathered. I'm not having it look brand new and shiny like this, like it's just rolled out of the dry dock for the first time. I'm going to be weathering this up. So there's more to come, but we will have a bit of a pre-reveal of it when it's all finished before the weathering begins, because the weathering alone will be a video at a later date. All right, I shall return in a second.
Hello, welcome back. So this is from a bit of a different view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you around the ship, give you a sort of a preview reveal of the ship, mainly because I'm at a point now in the build where all I need to do is the rigging and the weathering. Okay, everything else is complete, I think. Yeah, and the problem is that in another week from when you see this video, I'll be going overseas for a holiday vacation for a month, bit over a month, about 5 weeks. In which case, no more work will be done on the Yamato. I'm not going to get the chance to do that rigging, especially not the weathering. So this will be the last video you'll see for a while, unless you're coming and watching the series after I've finished it all. Okay, but if you've been following along, then you'll find that there's going to be a gap of a month or so before we see it. That's why I thought I'll show you where we're at now and how it's looking. All right, so down here beside me, under the TV, is where I'm going to put it. That's where it's going to live, temporarily anyway. We'll see what happens. Let's turn this camera around and have a look at it. All right, so there she is. Okay, massive. That's my dining table there. That has been my workbench since we started on this. We started on this, I don't know, I'd have to go back through the videos and check. But anyway, let's go down and have a look. Last step was putting the cranes on, or the crane and the catapults on, which we've got done there. I've just temporarily put the aircraft on there. They're just sitting there with some blue tack to give you an idea what that looks like. But look how nice that looks. I'm just trying to make sure it's all in focus. Beautiful. There's all the railings where they wheel out the aircraft. There's the other 2 aircraft on the deck there. Looking really nice. I've put some of the boats on. That is not where they belong or where they're going to stay, but I just put them out there so you could see them. In reality, I don't think they had any any of these boats on the ship in the last trip. And if they did, they would have been stored in the hangars anyway, which are down in there. You can see all the detail work in there. So there's like a conveyor hoist that runs and lifts them and slides them out and then lowers them down into the water from inside that hangar there. Obviously putting him in there is no good because you wouldn't see anything. I may rig up something and have one hanging maybe. I think that might be an idea. I don't know if that might work. But anyway, so that's all done. There's our screws on there, the shafts, the rudder, all the anchor at the top there. We go around, we've got the Yamato written on the back in the decal. Okay. Lots of work in that crane. I also heard from one of my subscribers in the comments that that scaffolding or the top section of that crane wasn't on their last voyage, but I've put it on there anyway. I didn't know at the time, but I just thought it looks good for visually. It's probably going to get knocked off at some stage. Going along, we'll come over the top. There's our hangar. You can see down in the hangar there. So there they are, the tracks run down into there. I know a few people have built this model and put some lights in there that come up really well. Very nice. Those tracks actually go right down through underneath this deck. But anyway, so there's our aircraft looking good. Obviously looking too shiny and new. They will get all weathered up and dirtied up a bit. So will this deck quite a bit. There's our number 3 turret. There for all the railings on there. We've got our guns on the deck. There's a couple more of the boats over there. It's a shame Trumpeter, oh I don't know, well, you know, they did what they can, but there's just no way of displaying those boats. Maybe an idea would be just to get a block of wood and just sit them and mount them. They do come with their supports for the racking for them. So you could just do them on a separate little piece of wood and just sit them beside the ship on your display. Similar to what I'm going to do with the Fujimi turrets I did, where you can see all the insides of the turrets. I'll be displaying that down beside the ship. Here we go across here. Lots of photo etch and bits and pieces on that turret there. There's our reels down there with the ropes. They come up really well using embroidery, cotton sort of, or thread, that's the word I'm looking for, embroidery thread to make those up. There was a couple more on the front deck, on the stern there as well. And going along, we get onto our areas here. There's our wooden deck. The superstructure, will come back a bit and have a look. Quite a lot of work in that. There we go, looking down onto it. All the way up here, the railings. There's our mast. All painted up. Try and get that to focus a bit. No, it doesn't want to. There we go. Again, more photo etch in that. There's our signal lights. There's the funnel, all the detail, the decal on it. Looks really nice with all that piping on the side. There it is there. Lots of anti-aircraft guns all on the side. There's the ones that are on the cantilever on the edge of the ship there. And again, look at that paintwork, eh? So this is the Outlaw Paints. Everything, this entire ship is painted with Outlaw Paints. And I highly recommend it. If you need the accurate detailed colour for the Imperial Japanese Grey, this is it. Go to Outlaw Paints, all right? It's a simple acrylic lacquer. There's no bother, don't bother mixing it with thinners or anything like that. I can tell you I probably went through 150, nearly 200 mils of grey and probably about 100 mils of this cocoa brown, as they call it, on the instructions for the hull red. But again, Jason Braden did a great job researching and getting that mix just as accurate as they possibly could for that hull. And from what I know, they went to a lot of trouble getting it, and it's just come up absolutely beautiful. And the greys there, really, really nice. There's our main tower going up. And there we go, all the area on the top here. The radar at the very top, very detailed, but look at that, you can see through that. Look at that. That paint went on beautifully. Like, it's undercoated in black primer. Everything was black primed first. Outlaw Paints black primer, and then hit with the IGN grey. And look at that, it's just gone on beautifully. You know, really nice. And looking down, we come across, there's our smaller gun there. There's a life buoy sitting there. That is part of the kit. Sort of sticks out a little bit, doesn't it? It's the only bit of colour on the whole vessel, other than the aircraft. There's our number 2 turret there. The anti-aircraft guns on the top. There they are. All nice. As you can see, I've done the fixed position on these, and you'll see how it's too low and it's touching the railing on the number 1 turret. I've had some good advice from some people to just get some plastic card and cut it and just raise this up. Probably needs to come up about 5 mil or so to clear that, and it'll be fine. I think when they designed this, they forgot about the shape of the deck, how it curves down in that area there, and that of course makes those guns actually aiming down a little bit, especially when they're fixed. You do have the option of having them open without the blast bags, where then you can adjust them up and down, and then you could obviously clear all that. There we go. There's some smaller machine guns down there on the deck, around the sandbags. And then further forward, I put all that scaffolding and equipment that they have, enough to do all the guns with, but I just didn't think that would suit. I just did one. I did the number 1 gun with that, so you could just see that detail. And yeah, I don't know whether they use that during maintenance or cleaning, or how that works, but yeah, I just did one of the guns up like that. And we've got some more rope there. I've got to trim some of that back a bit too much on there, just curl it up, but that come up really well. The breakwater, the deck's looking quite good. We're going all the way up to the bow area now, all that checker plate. There's our anchor chain. The one that comes with the kit is not black. The one that came with the deck is black, so that saved a lot of trouble. Well, be careful, I'm getting too close. Yeah, so all the way up as they go down into the holes there. There's our front end, the bow. We've got our anchor on the side there. It was a little bit tricky to fit as well. Had to modify and cut that, get that the right shape. And then we can come all the way around and look all the way down there. It's long. It's, this thing is 5 foot long, 1.3 meters long. And I'll tell you what, it weighs, well, the box it came in weighed 10 kilos. So if you took the manual out, there's probably about, well, there would be just under 10 kilos of weight in this whole thing. All right, there it is. Sorry about the desk, it's a bit of a mess. I guess that's a sign of a busy modelling bench. All right, there we go. So what I'll do now is I'm going to just stop the video here, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at it. I'll go and put it under the TV over there where it's going to live for a while, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, and back to my ugly mug. All right, so yeah, I'm really happy with it. Some people are saying how quickly I built it. I don't think I built it very quickly. Excuse me. You know, but yeah, it went together really well. But we'll talk more about that later. But there's a preview reveal of it at this stage now, and the next video you see will involve doing all the rigging on that superstructure, which is going to be quite yeah, interesting. That superstructure is not glued down, by the way, it's just sitting there, so I can take that off the deck and get that rigged up without having my hands around things that could break. That'll make it a bit easier. In fact, it sits there so well I probably won't glue it down at all. I'll just leave it sitting like that. And you can see, there it is there. Yeah, definitely do something to do that. All right. Yeah, so I'll move it over there and we'll take a quick look at it over there. Be back shortly. Okay, so there is where it's going to live, and it's right under the TV, and what you can see there is I've got the Fujimi turret there. I built that in another video. There's actually 3 of them. I only built one out of the box. There's actually 3, so I will probably build the other 3. I think they look good to be a part of the display. I will most likely get a base for this to sit on rather than just straight on top of that cabinet like it is. Those little clear pieces you see, they're just 4 of the about 12 of those I've got. They are what the whole ship will sit on. So I've got the little plastic ones. I picked them up in the hardware store. So they will go just underneath the ship, and yeah, that's where it's going to sit. Looking pretty good. Look at that. Yeah, I know people are probably thinking, oh, well, what about putting it in a case? Yes, it will definitely need to go into a case. Where I could find, I did have a contact that could make one, but now I'm not too sure. It will need to go in a case of some sort. It's going to be an expensive addition, but it's going to be necessary because, as you may know, I have a lot of problems with dust and so forth. But yeah, anyway, there we go. So there's a quick look and a preview reveal of our 1/200 scale Yamato, finished, other than the rigging and all the weathering that needs to be done. There it is. All right. Okay, let me get back to the bench, and we'll be back shortly.
Okay, so we're back on the bench, and I hope you enjoyed that little preview reveal. And yeah, so this is what we've got next to do, all the rigging on this. I've been looking at some research through the anatomy of a ship. There are some good reference photos. There are some tricky parts to do, that's for sure. But I've done rigging before, so it should be okay. And so, yeah, it should be fine. So what we'll do is we'll finish the video off here. The next video will go into all this rigging, get that done. Any other little bits and pieces that might need doing on the ship before we need to begin the weathering process. Okay, so thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notifications bell so you get notified of when the videos come out. Please, if you really want to get those your ship looking like this, you need to use Outlaw Paints. So I highly recommend them. During the whole painting process of this, that was just so easy, and it just come up looking just magnificent. Really fantastic. So the Outlaw Paints link is always down in the bottom of the description of all these videos, and along with Icky Sticky products that I use, including all my CA glues, every other type of glue. 90% of what I use here is all from Icky Sticky. Again, the link's down in the description. If you've got any comments, please comment below. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you think of it so far. I'm really happy. Give me some tips and of anything to do with the weathering. I've weathered a ship this big before. I built the Arizona, and I'm trying to remember what I did exactly to get that like salt look on the hull and some of the metal staining and stuff like that. A lot of panel line wash will be required. I've got a full bottle, that'll be fine. So yeah, please put your comments below, and if you'd like to also please share the video out to anyone in your social media that might be interested, any of your sites and groups that you belong to that might want to watch the videos, and give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video where we get to work on this. Okay, thanks all, bye for now, cheers.